This video is going to be my game reaction to the Seahawks 36-24 loss to the San Francisco 49ers on Thursday Night Football. They really fought against themselves all game long, and a sharp, obviously physical, and very efficient 49ers run game. Twice, Seattle was able to surge and get within 23-17 and then 29-24 in the fourth quarter, but ultimately they fell short because of their own miscues, turnovers in some cases, hiccups in their own offensive system, inability to stop the run. Of course, the Shanahan system and what Kyle Shanahan and those guys do on offense and Brock Purdy's clean play deserves credit as well, don't get me wrong. I think a lot of the blame for this loss falls at their inability to stop the run, they being Seattle, and generate the run game, any type of run game or rushing attack on their side of the ball as well. Seattle falls to 3-3 now in a tie with the 49ers atop the division lead for a moment. Really missed a chance in the last 4 or 5 days to take a commanding lead in the division with a win here and or a win against the Giants on Sunday. I did think the defense for Seattle had a nice stretch of 3 possessions in a row in the second half. 3 consecutive stops after falling behind 23-3 on that touchdown pass from Brock Purdy to George Kittle. Get within 23-17 after that third consecutive punt by the 49ers. Geno Smith unfortunately threw another interception over the middle of the field. Perhaps DK Metcalf should have brought his route a little bit more underneath. Perhaps it's just a poor throw by Geno Smith, maybe a little bit of both. I'm not sure. San Francisco added a pair of touchdowns in the fourth quarter, pulled away. That it's a win, a game that really leaves the Seahawks with a ton of questions. What type of team they are? What are they capable of against a team that's physical on both sides of the ball, meaning an offense that can run the ball in the case of the 49ers and also stop or slow down your run game, which at this point it doesn't seem like it takes a whole heck of a lot to get that done against Seattle. 49ers finished with 229 rushing yards on 32 carries. They had the game-sealing run, basically 76-yard run by rookie Isaac Guerendo late in the fourth quarter. Seattle at that point had all 3 of their timeouts, needed a stop to get the ball back. Certainly they're given as much effort as possible, trailing only 29-24. Unable to do anything, in fact, unable to touch Guerendo at all until Devin Witherspoon lays a hand on him inside the 10 as Guerendo is sliding down to the ground to basically force Seattle to use one of their timeouts. If you move back to the Giants game in Week 5, just a few days ago now, really, the Seahawks have allowed over 400 rushing yards in the last 8 quarters of football. They have issues to address there. That's obvious. Or fix. And in some cases, like against the 49ers, they may not be capable of. This may be the reality. I do think there's other options that they can look at. Maybe if I get a chance this weekend, I can try to look at some of the too high stuff and how Mike McDonald's guys are trying to fit the run. I thought the 49ers used a healthy dose of 21 personnel and 12 personnel to go against Seattle's base defense. Whether they were running to the strong side, to the weak side, I'm not sure. I just know that they were really efficient in running the football tonight, and there was plays where Seattle didn't have anyone at the point of attack until the running back is beyond the line of scrimmage. In some cases, even a couple of yards past the line of scrimmage. Like I said, they've allowed 404 yards to be precise in the last 2 weeks. That's come on 67 carries, so 6 yards, just over 6 yards per carry allowed in the 2 losses to the Giants and the 49ers. Drastically different feeling, I'm sure, as a Seahawks fan at this point. It's ominous as an observer, kind of with 1 foot in and 1 foot out from the outside, being myself. Seattle's now allowing, I think, 144 rushing yards per game through 6 games. The defense will be focused on, as well they should, because it wasn't Christian McCaffrey out there running for 100 yards or more. Jordan Mason played and ran football well. Isaac Guerendo, look, he's really athletic, incredibly fast. I was very interested in him in the draft from a Ravens standpoint. The 49ers drafted extremely well. Have to give them credit. But those guys have, Mike McDonald and those guys on defense have 2 games remaining against the Rams, a run-centric offense, a return date with the 49ers in Week 11. The defensive side of the ball, stopping or slowing down the run, that has to be addressed, perhaps at the risk of opening yourself up at times to more space on the back end, giving up more pass plays. Mike McDonald wants to stop the run from a split safety structure. Right now, it's just not working. I have to say this about the 49ers. Huge contributions from their rookies. Garendo, like I said, is a rookie from Louisville. Speedster, 4.3. Guy at the combine. He finished with 99 yards rushing on 10 carries. Renardo Green, the corner from Florida State. I was really high on him in the pre-draft process. I wanted him to come to the Ravens. He had an interception, 2 passes defensed, 6 tackles. He did give up the touchdown to Lockett in the fourth quarter. I think Lockett might have pushed off a little bit to create a little bit more space than maybe was there, but nonetheless, he gave up a touchdown as well. The other rookie, Malik Mustafa, a safety, he had the first quarter interception that I think really set Seattle's offense back for the entire first half. Overall, Ryan Grubb's offense turned the ball over twice, the 2 interceptions by Geno Smith, and they just couldn't develop a running game at all once again. Finished with 52 yards on 20 carries, only like 2.5, 2.6 yards per carry. It's tough to see how you beat a good 49ers team and a good Rams team. Not that the Rams are very good right now, but a good Sean McVay Rams team if you're one-dimensional. And I mean one-dimensional on offense and defense. If you're really good against the pass but not able to stop or slow down the run game, and then if you're only able to generate 50, 55, 60 yards a game rushing, if you're one-dimensional, I don't know how you beat those Rams and 49ers teams because they're going to be balanced. They're going to be able to run the football and throw the football and execute those things at a high level. I did think that Geno Smith played poorly in the first half. He did some things well, don't get me wrong. He has the big touchdown pass to DK Metcalf that was called back. They actually did score on that possession. That's the possession that ended or culminated with the fourth down touchdown pass to Tyler Lockett. So I don't want to say it doesn't matter because it does, because it's about time remaining in the game, and I'll address that in a little bit. But I thought in the first half there was 3 throws by Geno Smith that were high and could have been more accurate. DK Metcalf had some unusual snaps out there, in my opinion. I'm not talking about the body language stuff that other people were focusing on. To a certain degree, I don't care. He had some unusual snaps out there on the field, sometimes where he didn't seem to be imposing his will on the defensive backs. He did have, like I said, the wonderful 52-yard touchdown catch that got called back in the fourth quarter. Additional to that, nearly had a touchdown catch in the last minute of the first half. That would have been huge, and I think would have set Seattle up in the second half to be in a much better situation when the defense finally did get 3 stops in a row. Lockett and Walker were the 2 guys moving on the play that negated DK's touchdown, the 52-yard touchdown catch. Lockett was, I guess actually I should say, the way I should say it is Lockett was not set when Walker shifted or motioned out of the backfield. So it's tough to see in this day and age with how much movement is allowed and how much there is a gray area at times that I think is kind of stomped on. I personally think that's a penalty on what Lockett is moving and hasn't set when Walker starts to motion out of the backfield. But what's really important here is that it's the offense making a mistake. With the turnovers, I thought twice tonight the ball was snapped and nobody on one side of the offensive line moved. I think both times it was the left side of the offensive line. You can't develop a run game. Geno Smith, I think, had 3 throws that were very inaccurate in the first half. The opportunity to get both feet down and make the catch if you're DK Metcalf, if you want to be really picky and say we've got to get our feet down, he's within an inch or inch and a half of doing so. Like I said, they did get the touchdown to Lockett on that drive where DK's touchdown was called back. But the timing of the touchdown, the timing of the score there matters, meaning it gave the Seahawks less options. When San Francisco did get the ball, up 29-24 with less than 2 minutes left, they run the patented outside zone concept. Garendo's gone pretty much down the right sideline. I think he could have taken it to the house, slid down to force the Seahawks to take a timeout. I think the offense for Seattle has issues as well that need to be addressed, even though you're certainly generating a lot of yards. When you look at the statistics at the end of the night, I think 360 total yards, only averaged 4.9 yards per play. That's pulled down by the lack of a running game. There's a couple play concepts that Grubb ran tonight that I thought were really cool. The middle screen to the running backs, I like that a lot. Maybe I'll do a standalone video about that a little bit later. But 2 interceptions, a fumbled kickoff by Laviska Shenault in the first half. Those things really hurt And then the 4 opportunities in the last minute of the first half for Geno Smith to throw a touchdown pass to someone. I think one of the 4 passes, the first one, was the pass interference when a defender basically grabbed Noah Fant in the back right corner of the end zone. 49ers at that point are up 16-0. This team was playing against itself. They're playing uphill for most of that first half and the second half as well. Now, look, you have to give credit to the 49ers defense. They were very fast. They tackled well, so that has something to do with it, obviously. I thought, tackled in space incredibly well in the first half. 3 or 4 different situations, Seattle's offense had created some kind of room. A linebacker or safety comes downhill to make a tackle and limits you to like a 6-yard gain when it looks like it would have been 10 or 12. I thought the Seahawks offense really sputtered in the first half other than that first drive. Made the defense kind of stay on the field. My halftime notes were that DK has done nothing when given opportunities. Geno Smith was slightly off target on some of his throws. At that point, I think Geno was 4 of 9 passing, somewhere in that range, for 53 yards and 1 interception. Just a disappointing first half, if you ask me. DK to that moment had 1 catch on 6 targets. I think he may have been interfered with on the last catch where he has a toe out of bounds. But to the point where you're 30 minutes into the game, San Francisco has outgained the Seahawks 244-132. And Deebo Samuel got wide open up the left sideline for a 76-yard touchdown catch to put them up 10-0. There was just no flow or momentum for Seattle's offense to that point until the final possession of the first half, that is. They had to settle for a field goal to get within 16-3. Geno finished the half 9 of 18 passing, despite not being sacked once. And they only generated 109 yards of offense to that point from the passing game, that is. And the rushing attack, 10 carries, 24 yards in the first half. Just established nothing. JSN was able to get open multiple times, find some space. I think they've got some real things to fix, address, talk about, try to find a way to mitigate from a Seattle standpoint in the next 10 days, because they don't play Atlanta until October 20th. Atlanta hasn't run the ball fantastic, but they do have Bijan Robinson, an extremely talented second-year running back. I think that if you just look at the guys that have ran the ball well against Seattle in the last 2 weeks, you can project out and say that Bijan Robinson has an opportunity to run the football well against them also. Seattle's got to get healthy on defense, number 1. Number 2, I think the scheme has got to be looked at in some of these situations where people are running the ball on them. It was first down run plays a lot tonight, don't get me wrong. And then the big one was the 76-yard touchdown to Deebo Samuel up the left side. Basically a delayed wheel against Seattle's base defense on a first down, first play of the drive. I think, in fact, the coaching staff for Seattle has to figure out a way to stop the run, slow it down as best they can, and generate some consistent yards in a rushing attack that just has not been so far this year. 102 yards rushing last week against the Giants, but that includes a scramble by Geno Smith. They did have 133 on the ground against Detroit. Again, I think that included 2 scrambles by Geno Smith and then some late runs in the second half when Detroit was playing against the pass. At this point in time, I think the offense is unbalanced. Or imbalanced is perhaps the best word. Is that by design? Is that by application? Meaning once you get into a game, you realize you're not able to run the ball. There were situations 3 or 4 times where I thought Charbonnet or Walker had a little bit of space, and suddenly 2 49ers guys come downhill, converge at angles, and just kind of clamp down on the running back and make a tackle. Maybe it's because they play so much zone, and so their eyes are looking forward and they know when to come downhill. That's a possibility. One of the benefits of playing a lot of zone, being able to have consistent pursuit angles, leverage support either to your inside or to your outside in terms of a teammate who's going to help you make a tackle. So there's something to be said for the 49ers system on defense, and then obviously on offense as well. They create a ton of conflict, have great talent, even without Christian McCaffrey. Those guys are able to get a lot done. Brandon Ayuk was pretty quiet tonight, I thought. He had 1 big catch in the second half where Purdy kind of hits him over the middle, but otherwise, he only had 2 catches for 37 yards on 4 targets. I thought that they were efficient on offense, they being the 49ers, even though Brock Purdy's numbers only ends up being 18 of 28. Geno threw the ball 52 times, 2 interceptions. Looked very similar, if you ask me, to the game against the Lions, except he just wasn't as comfortable. And I didn't think he was as accurate either. You may not agree with that criticism or that evaluation, and that's no problem. I just didn't think that DK and Geno, two of the stars on the offensive side, two of the guys in charge of the offense in terms of production, played to their potential tonight against the 49ers. Have to give San Francisco's defense credit? Sure. But then on the other side of the coin, you have to say that I think the offensive staff for Seattle has to do a better job of creating a more balanced attack such that teams can't just play zone and recognize you're not going to be able to run the football and move it consistently against us. Do they have the horses and the running backs, Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker III? Absolutely. Do they have the offensive line to get that accomplished? I'm not sure. I do have some concerns about their ability to run the ball out of 11 personnel when you're not utilizing the quarterback as an athlete. I'm not saying Geno Smith can't run, but out of 11 personnel, and this is something I've believed for years, even prior to the time when I tried to analyze and break down NFL football, out of 11 personnel, if your quarterback is not a piece of the running game, it, in my opinion, doesn't create split flow. So it doesn't create the possibility that you keep it in the opposite direction to where the running back is flowing on the snap, unless you're going to be an under center 11 personnel run team like the Rams. And so I think there might be some foundational issues that are holding back Seattle's running game, along with whatever offensive structure Ryan Grubb employs, could be a part of that weakness as well. You guys will have to let me know what you think of my thoughts leading up to my conclusion here, which is Seattle has about 4 or 5 days from a coaching staff standpoint to really get into the film and look at what they can do on defense to try to be better against the run. A potential positive here. We're early in the season. It does get late early, but we're early in the season and you've given up significant rushing yards in the last 2 weeks. Mike McDonald has an opportunity to adapt and shift his scheme at times in a way that hopefully mitigates those problems. If these issues didn't pop up until later on in the season, you'd have perhaps potentially less time to fix them. Trying to find a silver lining for you. It cannot be fun to have sat there and really watch the team struggle again, I think, for the second week in a row. I'm talking about consistency, efficiency of the offense. Are you going against a really good defense in the 49ers? Yes. Was the Giants' defense last week underrated? You're damn right. I still think Seattle has to be coordinated better offensively. I still think they have to find a way to create rushing yards such that it keeps the defense off balance, which they were unable to do pretty much for the third time this year. Appreciate you guys' time, man. If you think other Seahawks fans would enjoy, well, they're not going to enjoy listening to someone talk about a loss, especially speak glowingly about the 49ers rookies. It's hard not to after the game that Mustafa, Green, and Garendo turned in. But if you think other Seahawks fans would at least appreciate or find my thoughts interesting, or that they provide some depth to the loss that to drop Seattle to 3-3, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.